This is a used 2020 Hyundai Palisade, and if you're in the market for a 2020 Hyundai Palisade, this is definitely the video for you. We're going to take a close look at this one and tell you if it's a good idea to buy a used Hyundai Palisade. The Palisade came out in 2020. It was a brand new model for that year. And if it looks familiar as far as some of the features go in the interior, well, that's because it has the underpinnings of the Kia Telluride, which is a good thing because the Telluride is also a very good vehicle, but maybe you like the look of the Palisade a little bit more. So we're going to take a quick look at this and even give you a little bit of advice on what to look for when buying a used vehicle to know if it's something you should or shouldn't buy. I borrowed this Palisade from my friends at Mike Morgan Hyundai. If you want to know more about this exact model, check out the link in the description of the video. As long as it's in inventory, that link will take you straight to this vehicle. So let's take a look at what we have here. One thing I really like here with the Palisade, and keep in mind, the only reason you see this kind of almost cascading effect is because of the shutter speed of my GoPro. So in case you wonder, how do I make mine do that? Well, you have to look at it through the screen of a GoPro. But the thing I like here is the fact that the daytime running lights start here with the headlight housings. Obviously those are your low beams and your high beams, but they work their way up into where the blinker is found here on the top of the front end. A very nice look, the way everything just blends together. It looks right. It has a nice, well, kind of an elegant, or maybe more accurately put, classy look to it. Overall, a nice look with the front end. The design of the grille, it's not cookie cutter. That's what I like about it here. The way everything is put together here, the nice large Hyundai logo right here, put in the right place, not too big, not too small. It fits. Obviously, everything here is functional. And then as we take a look around the vehicle, answering a couple of commonly asked questions, one of which being, are there turn signal indicators built into the side view mirrors? Yes, kind of different from what we see a lot of the time. You've got some right here, you've got a blinker there, but also here so that it's visible in a multitude of places for those driving around you. And the remote right here. You're going to have that other feature that so many people ask about, remote start. It's a nice, sturdy looking remote and definitely going to get the job done. Everything on here that you need. And as far as when you inspect a used vehicle, don't trust Carfax. Not that their information isn't accurate, but here's the thing. The way they get their information is based on what's out there for the public to see from police departments and different places like that. That doesn't mean everything is there and accurate. So here's something to look for that's really important to know. Well, maybe if the vehicle's ever been in an accident, look at the body lines that separate the hood from the fender or the door from the front fender right here, and different places like that on the vehicle. Make sure those are aligned properly. It doesn't mean it hasn't been in an accident, but if everything is aligned properly, that means that everything has been properly repaired. And under the hood, well, here's one of those underpinnings I was talking about that this Palisade shares with the Kia Telluride. The 3.8 liter V6 makes 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque, made it to an 8-speed automatic transmission. This particular model is front-wheel drive, and the MPGs, well, I'd say they're fairly impressive. 19 city and 26 out on the highway. And tire and rim size, 245 on the width, 50 on the sidewall, and a 20-inch rim. So that sidewall, 50 series sidewall right here is definitely going to help to have good ride quality, which this model does have. And an overall nice look on the vehicle itself. You've got the roof rails up there. If you want to take advantage of those, the nice brushed aluminum, that's not chrome, that's brushed aluminum right there, not only on the surround for the windows, but also for your door handles here. You're also going to have the button to open and or close the interior. I've got the lights on right now, so that's not going to work, but that does work that way as long as you have the remote on your person. The rear roof spoiler, and I always like to see these car makers conceal away the rear window wiper up here in this area. Doesn't always happen, not necessarily a bad thing, but it is what it is. You're also going to have the LED tail lights back here. a very nice look. And again, we kind of see a little bit of the Telluride when you look at this right here. At least that's what I see. Maybe not everybody, but a very nice look back here. It does have the power rear lift gate, so you're going to hit that button right there, or there are a couple of other ways that you can do that to open the rear door here. By the way, this is a standard 3-row SUV. Let's talk a little bit about cargo capacity and towing. If you need to tow with your Palisade, you can tow up to 5,000 pounds, and cargo capacity ranges between 18 cubic feet up to 86.4 cubic feet. You can see that you have additional storage here under the rear floor. Those are the tools right there to change a tire if you ever need to. And obviously, if you want to use the cargo cover, you can install that, or you can conveniently stow it away right in this storage area so you don't lose it. This is obviously going to be a 3-row SUV. That's standard on these Palisades. And I like the fact that you have the buttons back here in addition to the 12-volt power outlet. You have the buttons back here to lower not only these rear seats, but the middle row as well. So the top buttons will lower the middle row seats. Now I will push that button right there. That one's not going to go all the way down, but that's okay. There's a reason for that. I'll show you in just a little bit what that is. But the good news is that while you have to manually raise the middle row seats back up, you don't have to do that here. These are fully automatic, and I like the fact you're going to hit these bottom buttons right here to lower the rear seats. Notice that, well, I'm not over there anymore. So all you do is push the buttons one time to lower and raise those seats back up. In fact, I'll go ahead and hit the buttons to raise them back up. I have done SUVs that cost upwards of and over $100,000 where you have to hold your finger on the buttons to make that work. Now, we'll close the rear door. In fact, one thing I do want to show you here real quick. See how I lowered that right there? If you're not happy with the height and you want to change the height, just hold this button down. Let's see, hopefully you can hear the beep. So what that means is now when I close this door, we're going to go ahead and close that down. When I open it again, it's going to open to the height where I just set it. So all I have to do is hold that button down, and that's what's going to happen to change the height of the door. There's not some special way to do it in the interior or a button or anything like that. Well, technically, I guess there is a button because you hold this button down to do it, but that's how simple it is. And you'll notice that you do have the shades here for the rear windows for the middle row seat passengers. If they want to put those in place, they can. Those are manually put in place or taken down. And as you can see, a couple of cup holders right here, a couple of different options there for sizes, and kind of a door bin here of sorts, more or less another holder for a drink, a bottle holder right there. But you've got some more of the brushed aluminum right here for the trim within the interior. And then we're going to take a look at, well, what I was talking about earlier. The seat is forward here and further back, so you can actually move these around to make it easier to have space for rear seat passengers. And speaking of space for rear seat passengers, well, let's find out exactly how much there is. Now, keep in mind, again, these seats do move back and forth on the tracks right there. So passengers in the rear seating area can actually have that adjusted to a great degree. Personally, I don't think I'd be that happy back here. I'm 5'10", but it's not that bad. And then obviously you've got the controls here for moving the seat backs here into the reclined position. In fact, I'll see if I can show you that real quick. So you can see this one's reclined, this one isn't. So that gives you an idea right there. So very nice feature for rear seat passengers. Obviously you also have the connectivity back here with the 12-volt, more cup holders. Obviously a lot going on here. Everybody has their own air conditioning vents as well, so they can take advantage of that. Map lights, quite a bit going on back here that makes it, well, a pretty nice experience for rear seat passengers. And what about getting out of the rear seat? Well, just push that button right there. If somebody in the middle row gets out and forgets that there are people in the back, or just don't let them out. And as you can see, there is quite a bit more space here. Obviously, that's going to vary a little bit more as far as leg space for middle row seat passengers, depending on where the front seats are located. And connectivity is going to be found not only here on the seat backs themselves for connectivity with USB, but also a 12-volt power outlet right down here, and also a household power outlet as well. So quite a bit going on. Here's the command center for this tri-zone climate control. This is the third zone back here. Obviously, you can turn that on or off, and the middle row seats are also heated, both seats here, and then you can see everything else that you can adjust there, and even the reading lights there as well. Everybody, again, will have their own air conditioning vent. And then something that we have here as well, while it's not panoramic, there is a conventional size sunroof. And what about the front seats? Well, let's start with the door panels. Very nice look. Got soft touch materials right here, so they're fairly comfortable as far as the armrest goes. More of the brushed aluminum and a larger door bin down there. Quite a bit more space than what we saw in the rear. So you've got the bottle holder here. That can be used a couple of different ways, and area back here for snacks or whatever anybody wants to put in there. Power seats, obviously, for the driver and the passenger. Comfortable seating. And let's hop inside and have a look at what we have here within the interior. A really nice modern look, I would say, as far as the overall design of the air conditioning vents and the dashboard in and of itself. Then we have the, again, gloveless glove box. I'm still waiting to find gloves in these glove boxes, but nobody ever leaves any for me. Well, hardly ever. I think that's happened once maybe, but there is a lot of space in there. You could put a lot of gloves in the glove box if you wanted to. And then your dual zone climate control, part of the tri-zone climate within the interior. So you've got everything there. You can sync both sides together, or you can turn that off. Everything there pretty easy to figure out as far as how that works and what it does. Also, a heated steering wheel and heated seats here in the front. Heated only, not ventilated, but not a big deal. There is the ability to turn off or turn on the auto stop start feature. I always like to turn that off. And then, well, first of all, you can conceal everything away right here if you want to, or you can open that back up if I can get it to open. There we go. Oh, that was more me than anything else. It's not because something's wrong here. I just wasn't doing that correctly. But as you can see right here, you've got the cup holders, and you might wonder, well, that was interesting. Well, you actually can save some space right there by concealing these little pieces away right here that actually help to put the cup holders in place. That way it will keep everything in place, or when you're not using that area, you can actually use it for storage. You also have the wireless charging pad right there, so always a benefit in that respect. And the lid for the console that doubles as an armrest. How does my arm fit on there? Well, you can see right there. So not too bad. And then within the interior of the console, space, quite a bit of space and more connectivity down here. USB and 12 volt. There's actually 4 12 volts within the interior of this model. But we're not finished yet. We're going to hop over into the driver's seat and talk about everything you'll find there and what you can find within the infotainment screen. And if you're somebody who is not a fan of child safety locks that are located here on the rear door, you activate them or turn them off on these rear doors. On some vehicles, Hondas have those, GMCs, Chevrolets, others do as well. Well, not a problem here. You can activate those or turn them off depending on what you want to do right here. So that makes a big difference right there. Obviously, a lot of safety features here as far as your blind spot monitoring, lane keeping assist, traction control, all of that is there. You can also open and close that power rear door right here, power parking brake, and right here is the lever you can drop to adjust the tilt and telescopically adjustable steering wheel. So let's move that steering wheel out of the way right here. Here is what your dashboard looks like. You can see that you can go through quite a few different features, different information about the vehicle, depending on what you may want to know. I'm just using the button here on this side. You also have your cruise control. There's quite a bit going on here. So you can do a lot depending on what you might want to do. You can control the radio there, answer and hang up on phone calls. You also have the steering wheel mounted paddle shifters right there. So if you want to use those, if you want to drive and feel spiritedly, or feel spirited, I should say, well, there you go. And something that I must say I like here is the infotainment screen. Very easy to use. And if you've never had this kind of technology before, maybe you're looking to buy a vehicle, well, no big deal. You can learn all about it with the quick guide right here. It will walk you through quite a few different situations and steps, different things you might want to know. We're not going to go through that step by step today, but you can see what's there. it's a really easy system to use, that's for sure. And then we'll go into reverse and take a look at the rear view camera. Now, you only have the one view in this particular case, but it is a nice clear view. You have nice bright trajectory lines there that obviously follow the direction that you're going, so that is a benefit for sure. And then right here is the start stop button for the engine, for turning that on and off. You can control obviously everything here we talked about earlier, with the exception of the shifter. Here is your shifter. A lot of the time I know people don't like push button shifters. In this case, it seems to be a little bit easier to use. You also have the auto hold for the brakes, so if you want the brakes to stay on when you take your foot off the brake after coming to a complete stop, that has its uses. And here is your mode selector. Let's look at the driving modes. As far as what you have the eco mode, and then you can pretty much see everything that we have. Smart mode, eco mode, you're going to have comfort mode and sport mode right there. And here's a little trick for you, just in case you're curious. When you toggle through, by the time you get to the sport mode right there, well, you'll have to turn it back to the left to go to the other modes. It doesn't just keep going around, in case you are curious about that, and I know a lot of people are. Now, when it comes to buying a used vehicle of any sort, one of the most important steps is a good, thorough test drive. What exactly do you need to look for? Let's get out on the road and I'll tell you. Okay, when you get out on the road for your test drive, well, obviously you're going to check to make sure that the brakes are working properly, that they don't feel mushy, or that it doesn't take longer than it feels like it should for the vehicle to come to a safe stop. You'll also want to pay attention to how the engine runs. Does it have any kind of hesitation? Is there any strange noise coming from the engine bay, knocking or anything like that? And how does it steer? How does it handle? Is it going straight? If you're on a road, unlike where we are at the moment, where you can take your hands off the steering wheel, or at least let go of it, but still have your hands close by. Now, that might sound a little strange, but the reason for that is because you want to make sure the vehicle is tracking straight. And so those are all things that will help you to know for sure if it's been in an accident or not. And usually that's not going to be a problem, especially on a vehicle that's only a couple of years old roughly. So that makes a difference. So if I let go of the steering wheel, it tracks nice and straight, no problems. That's a good sign. It may wander off to the right or to the left just a tiny bit, but if it does it very slowly, you're in good shape. And obviously, depending on your personal preferences, you want to pay attention to ride quality. The suspension and the shocks may be good, but the seats themselves may not be so comfortable. So you always want to pay attention to things like that and make sure that's all to your personal liking. Make sure you're happy with how you can see out of the vehicle. Even though these do have blind spot monitoring and all those great features, I know for me personally, I still look in my blind spot, even with blind spot monitoring. Can you see as well as you want to? All of that. And even something to the tune of, well, let's see. Okay, we almost saw an accident right there. That seems to be common on our test drives, but somebody in that Jeep Grand Cherokee L, I guess, wanted a quick look at the front end of this Tahoe right here. So they took a close-up look. Anyway, before I was distracted, what was I saying? Let's make sure the Tahoe doesn't come into our lane either. They're trying to do that. My goodness. Shreveport drivers, I need to build a second channel. Okay, you can go. So let's keep talking about the main thing here. Sorry, I'm just distracted by these bad drivers. If possible, you may want to have someone with you. Obviously, if you're going to buy a 3-row SUV, you probably have family that's going to be riding in the back seat area. Well, let them check that out and see what they think about it. Just simple little things like that you want to take into consideration. And obviously, some of the other things that I probably don't need to mention, but I will check the tires. That's an easy fix. You can negotiate that if you need to. Check the tires, check the wear, all that kind of stuff. That's really important. Some of that can come based on previous ownership, and if the tire lost air, say the air temperature drops quite a bit, and so does the pressure in the tire, well, if somebody just leaves it like that, a previous owner, it can actually wear the outside of the tire out, cause problems with the wear pattern and all that kind of stuff, and cause the tires to wear out prematurely. So just little things to look for when it comes to inspecting a used vehicle. Pretty simple for the most part, but I will say this, as far as this one goes, everything seems to be working well. The transmission is shifting smoothly. Everything is good. it seems like it's been well taken care of. I don't notice anything that would cause me to say, if I was going to buy this particular Palisade, to say, man, I don't think that's the one for me because it has whatever problem it may have. It seems to be in really good shape. So tell me down in the comments section, are you in the market for a 2020 or any other used model of a Hyundai Palisade? Tell me what you're looking for. I'm always curious to know. And I gotta say a special thanks to my friends at Mike Morgan Hyundai for loaning me this Palisade for the day, and all of you for being kind enough to take the time to watch. If you enjoyed this video and would like to learn about other vehicles you may wish to consider purchasing, check out the video that's on the screen right now, and I will see you there.